Good morning, Rabotai. We are on the continuation of Daf Vav Amud Aleph. Okay, we just finished discussing the Kitron being Tzipori and the complaining nature of the tribe of Zevulun. Okay, and now we are up to Amar Rabbi Avau. So it's on 6A3 if you're following the art scroll, okay? Vav Amud Aleph, roughly, I would say, 4/6 of the way down. Okay, you guys find it in the Gemara? The words are Amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Yeah, the words are Shema Mina. You see abbreviation over there. Right down over there. Okay? Yeah. No, the Ekron.
It's about 19 lines up.
Okay? 6A3. Here. Top. Amar Rabbi Avau. Rabbi Avau said, the Ekron te'aker. Ekron shall be uprooted. What's the connection here between this ma'amar and the last ma'amar, between what we're learning about and this idea, when we're not talking about Ekron at all, but it's a continuation of this idea where we're finding expressions or names of cities in the Torah or in Tanakh, and we're now going to tell you which city that name actually refers to. Okay, so that's the link between what we're doing and what we're up to. Says the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Avau, the pasuk says ve'ekron te'aker, and Ekron will be uprooted. Zu Kesaria bat Edom, she yoshevet ben acholot. This refers to Kesaria, and if anyone's ever been to Kesaria, that city is an ancient city. There are ruins there from ancient times. Okay, and it refers to this uprooted city refers to Kesaria, which is taken over, which was used by the people of Edom, which is the Romans, and it sits ben acholot, between the sands. There's beaches all around it, sandy beaches. It was the yated means like a peg or something that holds like a tent down, that big that spike in the ground, and that's driven into the ground. So ultimately, it's going to get uprooted. So the opposite of something being uprooted is something being stuck into the ground. So it was a tiku'ah, yated tiku'ah l'Yisrael b'yimei Yivanim. During the times of the Greeks, it was stuck. It was stuck in Am Yisrael. It was a problem for the Jewish people in their own country. And when the Hashmonaim eventually ascended to power, and they defeated the Assyrian Greeks, Hayu korin ota achidat migdal shir. They would call the city. They changed the name of it, and they called it they managed to overrun and to take over. Migdal means like a tower of Shir. There's a machloket exactly what the name of it was. Different opinions as to what the real name of this place was. Was it Migdal Tzur? Right? That would make more sense with regards to what we're learning about, because Tzur actually is a name, Tyre, right? It was a name that referenced the Edomite seat of power. So this city that was a Greek city, that was a Roman city, that was captured, they were able to call it Achidat Migdal Tzur or Migdal Shed, different interpretations of what the name of it became called. So again, we're finding the accurate names for places, even when we have an ancient name that's being given to us. We're trying to decipher what the pasuk is talking about. The Gemara continues. Amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina says, "My dichti." What does it mean when it says "Va'asiroti damav mipiv"? I'm going to take away the blood from his mouth, v'shikutzav min shinav, and the disgusting things from between his teeth that are caught between his teeth. V'nishar gam hu leloheinu. In the end, that also will be left over for our God. Sounds very cryptic. What is it trying to communicate? The Gemara continues and explains. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, he's going to explain it to us. Vasiroti damav mipiv. What is that referring to? Ze bet bamaya shelahem. They had a place called Bet Bamaya. Bamaya comes from the word bama. Bama means a platform, like a stage. But in fact, the word bamaya or bama is actually used in many, many instances to refer to a mizbeach, right? In fact, once they built the Bet HaMikdash, there became something that was isur. It's called isur bamot. The isur of a bama is a foreign mizbeach, which is not in the Bet HaMikdash. It's called a bama. Okay? So Bet Bamaya Shalehem, their house of sacrifices, of altars, that's the blood of his mouth. Why? Because that's on a Mizbeach, you always have blood from the sacrifices that are brought there. And disgusting things from between his teeth, what does that refer to? Another house of Avodah Zarah that belong to the people. So God says, I'm going to take that away. And that also will be left over for our God. What does it mean it will be left over for our God? We're talking about places of idol worship that are going to be rendered, pardon the pun, idol. The Gemara explains, that's talking about the places that were instituted by the Jewish people amongst the Edomite exiles. So we had synagogues, we had Bet Midrash, yeshivot. So ultimately, those were either laid waste or laid in ruins because the Jewish people were driven from them. Hashem says, "I'm going to take back all those places and reinstitute them and reconstitute them for the sake of Avodat Hashem." V'haya, the continuation of this pasuk regarding Ekron continues and says, "V'haya ke'aluf b'Yehuda ve'Ekron ki'ivusi," and it will be that there'll be aluf means a prince or a king of Yehuda. It will be like a prince of Yehuda, and Ekron, the city, will be ki Yivusi. You might remember Yivusi from one of the 7 nations, right? Girgashi, Hivi, one of them is Yebusi. So Ekron, Yebusi, corresponded to the area in Eretz Israel, which was Yerushalayim. So Ekron, this city that was known as a stronghold for both the Greeks and then later by the Romans, that city will be like Yerushalayim. Okay? Now, what does that mean? And it will be like a prince. And what does it mean that Yebusi will be like Yerushalayim? Elu teratiot v'kirkasiot be'edom. This refers to the theaters and the circuses that you had amongst Galut Edom, okay? She'atidin sari Yehuda lelamed bahen Torah berabim. That in the future, the teachers of Israel, the Rabbanim, will be able to give shiurim and teach in those places. The Chachamim ask a question. We just understood that Hashem is going to reclaim the Batei Midrashiyot and the Batei Knesiyot. I get that. Why do I need their circus? Why do I need their theater house to teach Torah? Well, I can't teach in my own place. That's a place which is appropriate for teaching Torah. So there's many different explanations. But one of the explanations that they give is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to indicate and to illustrate that these places which had people screaming with energy and excitement, there's very few things that kind of, are as exciting, as thrilling, as when you're at like a Rangers game and they score and the playoffs, oh, and everybody's like, oh, right? You feel that energy of the whole crowd, excited, yelling, screaming, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to institute and illustrate that the joy, the excitement, the electricity that people feel for all these other elements of entertainment, that ultimately is going to be brought and it's going to rest in the camp of Torah. That excitement will be generated by the teachings of the Rabbanim in those places. We already experienced it in our lifetime when we went to MetLife Stadium on the Siyum HaShas, where you have people cheering and clapping. And what are they cheering, clapping for? For some 90-year-old guy who said Advar Torah. And who's on the Jumbotron? Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky. Wild. Okay, so we're really experiencing this Nivu'ah of the timing of Mashiach. The Gemara continues. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. And Yevusi, and Ekron will become like Yevusi. Yevusi will become like Yerushalayim. Caesarea, which is a city of the Romans, will turn into a mini Jerusalem. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Leshem, the pasuk which says Leshem, Zu Pamias, that refers to Pamias. What is Pamias? That is the place where the river, the Yarden, begins to flow. So that's where the mouth of the river is. Ekron te'aker. Ekron will be uprooted. That's why it's called Ekron, because the root of the word Ekron comes from the word te'aker. It's going to be ultimately destroyed and turned over. Now, Kesari, the Gemara says, what is that referring to? Which city is this city called Ekron? Zu Kesari. That refers to Kesaria. Bat Edom. She aita metropolin shel melachim. It was a metropolis of melachim, of kings. The word metropoline comes from two different words. Mitra, which means like mother. Ironically, much of English derives from its Latin counterparts. So Mutter, which is German, right? And mother, which is English, shares that Anglo-Saxon inheritance of Latin that came when the Anglo-Saxons and the hordes where they intermingled. Okay, so Kesari was the source, if you will, the metropolis of the Melachim. That's where the kings grew up, and in some ways that would be a concept of Mitra, that it was that they were raised by their mother, they were mothered there, they were born there. And some say no, it's not that they were born and raised there, but rather they were regular people from Caesarea that were then promoted. They chose kings from that place. The Gemara continues and says, Kesar Yushalayim, if someone tells you, Kesar Yushalayim Yom Alecha, Adam Charvu Shtehem, someone says to you that Caesarea and Jerusalem are both destroyed. Al Ta'amen, don't believe him. Yoshvu Shtehen, people are settled in both of them. Al Ta'amen, don't believe. Charva Kesar v'yashva Yushalayim, that Caesarea is destroyed and Yushalayim is settled, or the flip side, Charva Yushalayim v'yashva Kesari, Yushalayim is destroyed and Caesarea is settled, Ta'amen, then you could believe. Shneimar, because the pasuk says, Ammala'ah ha'charava. Ammala'ah means to be filled. Charava means to be destroyed. So what does it mean? Are you filled or are you destroyed? The Gemara answers, Immile'azu charavazu. If one is full, the other is empty and destroyed. Imale'azu charavazu. If the other one is full, then the other one is destroyed. What is this idea? Where does it come from? This concept. So if you take a look, you'll notice that this actually goes back to the berachot of Yaakov, to the berachot of Yitzchak to Yaakov and Esav. That Yaakov gets all the berachot. Esav comes crying to his father, and his father says, I placed him as a master, but right when the time will come where he doesn't do the right thing, right? Ufarakta ulo me'alecha, you will throw off his yoke from upon you, right? And that's when you'll be able to rise up above him. Esav and Yaakov are like a seesaw. Either you're up on one side or you're down on the other. That's how it works. So when one goes up, the other has to go down. And when one goes down, the other one has to go up. So we seesaw throughout history where either one is going to be ascendant in their experience. Now the question is this Gemara contradicted by the fact that today Yerushalayim is settled and there are beautiful homes in Caesarea?
It's not the same.
Sorry?
Not the same Caesarea.
It is the same Caesarea. In fact, there are amphitheaters there that still stand from the time of the Romans. There's aqueducts there. Yes. We learn a lot of what we know from Roman occupation of Jerusalem, of Israel, from what goes on in Caesarea. Yeah?
It was a functioning metropolis. Today, it's a city that people live
Excellent.
in. It's not an actual...
It doesn't mean that no one is ever going to put a house there. Right. But it means that the city as a metropolis is destroyed. It's a little random city with a couple of restaurants, no, I'm being serious. It's a little vacation, It's not, no one thinks that, they should have an airport in Caesarea. That's not the situation. One could argue, though, and this is the hard part, one could argue also that neither is Yerushalayim. The same way we could say that it's a city, but the glory of it lies in ruins. Right, our glory in Eretz Israel, where's that? It's also not rebuilt. But you can't begin to compare Jerusalem, which has the eyes of the whole world on it. It's a flashpoint until this day. Is definitely above Caesarea. Okay, Gemara continues. There's a different Gemara, by the way, that says something magnificent about Caesarea. It says that Shlomo HaMelech, when he married Bat Paro, and he did the wrong thing, and it was a big Chilul Hashem, on that night, God sent the angel to plant a reed in the sea. And he planted a reed in the sea, whatever this means, and slowly but surely, the earth around it started to gather, okay? And that became Caesarea. Shlomo represented the throne, the continuity of the Malchut Bet David. But when he sinned in that public way by marrying Bat Paro, again, whatever the Isur was, not to get into it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, he sowed the seed for the destruction of the temple that he built. Isn't that wild? Okay? In fact, Shlomo HaMelech comes late to the inauguration of the Beit HaMikdash. Why? Because Bat Paro figures out how to get him to sleep in. It's wild. So again, from that moment already, that mistake, that avon, kind of set the stage for the Beit HaMikdash to ultimately be destroyed in the hands of the people that would live in the city that were born of that mistake. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Abba Me'acha. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, we learn that idea from here. U'la'om mil'om ye'ematz. One kingdom, one king will be greater than the other. What's beautiful about this is Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak is saying, it's not that the berachot of Yitzchak did this. It actually precedes the berachot of Yitzchak to the actual birth. You see that they are struggling for pole position, pardon my French here, in the birth canal. Who's going to get out first? So it's either Esav or Yaakov. Yaakov is holding on to Akev, Esav from the very first moment. They're trying to have this, they're locked in this eternal struggle. Right, just to be clear, whenever we talk about Edom and Rome, we're always talking about the descendants of Esav, okay? That the Gemara continues. Rabbi Yitzchak taught, "My dichtiv yuchan rasha ba lamad tzedek." When Hakadosh Baruch Hu, if you grant chen to a rasha, ba lamad tzedek, still he's not going to learn to be righteous. When a Jewish person is punished, what do? They alter their course and they start heading off in a new direction and they work on themselves. So when a person sees, when they see God smiling on them, they take that beracha and they use it to be able to push themselves further in Avodat Hashem. But when a rasha, it's wasted on him. Amar Yitzchak lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yitzchak said in front of God, Ribono Shel Olam. Remember, Yitzchak was in Esav's corner. He knew that Yaakov was a tzaddik. But he also thought that Yitzchak maybe had a part to play. Maybe he could be Yaakov's partner. Maybe he could be his funder. Esav could be Yaakov's funder. He hoped that Esav would also be part of the spiritual legacy of Avraham and Yitzchak, and ultimately what Yaakov would take for himself. So, Amar Yitzchak from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yitzchak said in front of God, Ribono Shel Olam, Yuchan Esav, Le Hashem, please shine your light. Favor Esav as well. Amar lo, Hashem said, Rashau, he's Rasha. Amar lo, Bal Lamad Tzedek. So the Gemara is dividing the pasuk. Yuchan Rasha. Yitzchak said, please have Hen. Hashem says, Rasha. Yitzchak answers, Bal Lamad Tzedek. He did not learn to be a Sadiq, he did not learn to be righteous. Two opinions about this. One opinion is that Yitzchak Avinu said, Bal Lamad Tzedek. Did he not learn any element of righteousness? That's what Yitzchak was asking. Okay? Other opinion is, Hashem, it's true, he's not good. But Bal Lamad Tzedek, it's because he never learned Torah. That's why. It's not intentional. He didn't know any better. HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered him, Amar lo, the continuation of that same pasuk says, Be'eretz nichochot ya'avel. In a place, nichochot means when something is proven to be correct. So in a land, in a place of correctness, ya'avel, he did bad. He did the wrong thing. What did he do? What's that place of correctness? Yerushalayim, right? What do we say? Tzion mishpat tipadeh. Tzion is a place, is the seat of justice. It's not just the seat of spirituality in terms of the Beit HaMikdash, it's also the seat of justice. Why? Because where does the Sanhedrin, the high court, sit? The high court sits in Yerushalayim, in the Beit HaMikdash, the Lishkat HaGazit. That's where they sit. That's the place of the high court, of the highest court in the Jewish people. So a place of justice, he did an injustice. What did Esav do to that place? He's going to destroy Yerushalayim and destroy the Beit HaMikdash. Amar lo, Yitzchak said, Imken, ubal yir'eh geut amonai. If that's the case, so then I understand that he should not see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your glory, your majesty, your splendor. One of the things I was thinking about this is when Yitzchak says, Bal Lamad Tzedek. So I gave you two interpretations. The first explanation is what Rashi says. Bal Lamad Tzedek, didn't he learn? Isn't there anything? Can you not find one thing that's good about him? Yitzchak was not trying to play some sort of random game here with God. Is there not one good thing? What he actually meant is, there is one good thing. What did Esav do very, very well? He did Kibud Avaim, which mitzvah I meant. He did the mitzvah of honoring your father. In fact, the Gemara says that Esav did the mitzvah of Kibud Avaim better than anyone ever did it. And the Gemara says, even Rabban Gamliel says, I'm jealous of Esav because in my whole life, I honored my mother like this and my father like this, but I never was able to honor. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, as an example, he says, when I go to take care of my father, I change into my work clothes. I need to do some fixing up around the house. I put on my overalls, you know what I mean? I get into I get into the clothing. But Esav is the other way around. When he went to go serve his father, he had a special set of clothes. He put on his suit to go serve his father. Look how much we could learn from Esav in that respect. So what Yitzchak was saying is, Bal lamad tzedek, let the be'acha fall on this thing. By the way, that's actually also what Yitzchak was trying to do. What did he say? He said to him, go hunt for me. If I taste from your delicious foods, then my soul will be able to bless you. Okay? What's Yitzchak saying? He doesn't need the meat. Right? You know what? I'll give you a beracha. If you could go get me a reserve cut steak, then you were good. Then you're going to have a beracha. That's what he's giving him a beracha for a steak. The answer is no. He was asking him to do the mitzvah that made him special. Once you exhibit that from that place, an appreciation of that mitzvah, I could bless you, not just with my body, with my lips, with the physical part of me, as a father who loves his son, but I could actually bless you from my soul, from the spiritual side, because you will have done a mitzvah that makes you worthy of beracha. The Gemara continues from Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak said, "Mai dichtiv." What is it that it says? Al titen Hashem ma'aver rasha. Please Hashem, don't give the rasha what he wants. Zimamo al tafik. Don't take out his bit. Okay, al tafik yarumu sela. If you do that, then they'll be lifted up sela forever. Now, there's a difference of opinion exactly what this word means, zimamo. Does it mean a nose ring? Does it mean a bit? The point is, it's something that holds something back. Now, a nose ring, we relate to it as some sort of ancient form or even a current form of jewelry. When you put a ring in the nose of an animal, it's not jewelry. What do you use with that ring for? They attach a rope to it, right? And you pull the animal by the sensitive of spot in the nose. So the animal, the minute you pull it this way or that way, it's forced to go in that way. So in other words, this element, the concept of a zamam, of a nose ring, or of a bit, same thing. You have that piece, it's literally a piece of metal in the back of the horse's teeth that you could yank, literally. You're yanking back on the jaw of the horse. That's why it hurts the horse when you're pulling back like that on the reins. So we beg Hashem, please, don't give the Rasha what he wants and take out this element that controls him, that holds him back. Because if you do, what does that mean? Ribono shel olam, Amar Yaakov ne HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said in front of God, Ribono shel olam esudu al ten esav rasha ta'avat libo. Don't give him what his heart desires. Zimamo al tafek. Don't take out his nose ring, his bit. Right? What does that refer to when we say this? Zu germamia shel Edom. This refers to germamia shel Edom. There's a nusach that says that it doesn't mean germamia, doesn't say germamia, it says germania. Okay? But either way, what is this referring to? It's referring to Germany. Yes. The Germans were descendants of Esav, of Amalek. You look at something, you're like, okay, obviously, right? Because literally the task of Amalek is to wipe out the Jewish people.
This was written...
It's 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Right? Not only that, and by the way, wait for it. We're not done yet, okay? Now the Gemara says, so the Gemara is telling us that this is Edom, that Germania is Edom, they come from Amalek. Every time we face an Amalek in power, that is the desire of Amalek to destroy the Jewish people. We just had it with Purim, with Haman. We had it with Eliphaz, father of Amalek, right? Where what does he do? He also comes with a mission from Esav to destroy to destroy Yaakov. Okay? Valmar. So what does it mean? Please, what Yaakov Avinu already was praying to God is he said, please don't give the children of Esav, don't release their bit, don't take their nose ring out. Why? Because if you do, if they are uncontrollable, there's nothing to pull them back, what's going to happen? Right? The Yarum Usela, they'll be exalted forever. They're going to ascend forever. She'il maleh yotz'in. God, if you let Germania go out, machrivin kol ha'olam kulo. They're going to destroy the whole world. Could you imagine that Yaakov Avinu was praying to counteract Hitler? The Amar Rabbi Chama Bar Chanina, we're not done. Rabbi Chama Bar Chanina says, Tlat me'ak tiri taga ika v'germam yeshadom. There are 300, right, city-states, which before the unified Germany, that's what it was. Many different fiefdoms and all different power locales that came together to be able to create the unified Germany that ultimately became the war machine that literally took over the world. If Hitler didn't hate Jews as much as he hated Jews, the world would have been run. Someone told me that there was a TV show that they put out. What would have happened like if the war did not go against the Nazis, if they'd have taken over the world? Now, by the way, historians agree that if Hitler was not so hell-bent on destroying the Jews at such a fast clip, he would have won the war. The Allies had no chance of even entering into Europe. The way that they got in was on D-Day, right, at Normandy, and they said, we can shift our troops to Normandy, but we need the trains that you're taking the Jews to Auschwitz in. Give us the trains. You'll kill them tomorrow. And he said no. And historians say that if he'd have allowed them to bring the troops to Normandy, you have to realize it was a suicide mission. They're running from boats up a beach with an elevated position. They're just mowing them down. All the people that ran on the beach, they just murdered them. There was just a sea of people just dying, and the next wave came running over the dead bodies of their friends. All he needed was enough soldiers to repel D-Day, and the Allies would never even had a chance to get a foothold in Europe. It's wild, right? Anyway, but that's the Gemara's telling you that this is going to happen 2,000 years ago. Okay? It's wild, by the way, because this is predicted by the rabbis. In fact, there's a piece in the Or Sameach from Reb Meir Simcha of Dvinsk. He wrote Or Sameach. He wrote that the world is going to be destroyed and it's going to open. You know where it's going to come from? It's going to come from the city of Berlin. He predicted exactly what was going to happen 150 years before. He writes in his book. He said, you'll see. Anyway, the Gemara continues. Not only are there 300 of these city-states that are going to combine Germam Yishadom, there are 365 leaders in the Roman provinces, back now to the ancient history. Why did they have 365? They had one day, each person was king for a day. Okay? The problem is, as it says, every day one group goes out to another group. Every day there was someone getting killed. I don't know if you know Roman history. Every member of the Senate, every member of every Caesar, it was just one murder plot after the next. Et tu, right? Et tu brute, right? That's the line from Julius Caesar, right? They were always killing one another. It was a constant state of backstabbing. That's exactly what it was. Okay, so the Gemara is explaining that the bit that God used to control Rome is they're so busy filling power vacuums that they were busy with themselves. They didn't have time, so to speak, to deal with us. Now I want you to just pay attention for 1 second, because that means that the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, the exile of the Jewish people, that's with the bit.
Imagine.
Hitler killing 6 million is with the bit. That's what Yaakov Avinu was saying. What did he say? Please don't remove the bit, because if you do, Yarum Usela, they're going to go all the way. And it's wild to think that Yaakov Avinu in the Torah already predicts this story. He says, I'm going to go and meet Esav. V'haya if he comes to one of the camps and he kills one of the camps, the other camp will go free. Scary to think where he talks about killing roughly half of Am Yisrael. Psycho. And what word does he use when he talks about Esav killing such a large portion of Am Yisrael? He uses the word machaneh, which means not just a group, but also it means a camp. Psycho. Okay. V'amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak taught, if a person tells you, this is one of the most famous pieces in all of the Gemara. If a person will tell you, Yagati v'lo matzati, I worked hard and I did not succeed. I really worked as hard as I could and I did not succeed. Al ta'amen, don't believe him. So we're rolling off of the Al ta'amen statement before of Caesarea and Jerusalem being either simultaneously built or simultaneously destroyed. Someone says, I worked hard and I did not succeed. Al ta'amen, don't believe him. Lo yagati umatzati, I did not work hard. Yeah, and it just came to me in life. Everything's perfect, right? Al ta'amen, don't believe him. Nobody succeeds without hard work. Yagati umatzati, I worked hard and I found. Ta'amen, you could believe him. Es Gemara, ho. Do you mean to tell me that everyone that works hard succeeds? And if someone tells you I worked hard and I didn't succeed, you shouldn't believe him. I know a lot of people work very hard, don't succeed in their life. Gemara says, Hani mili b'divrei Torah. We're talking over here with words of Torah. When it comes to words of Torah, it can't be that there's a reality that someone says, I worked hard and I didn't understand it. Or vice versa. It can't be there's a reality. A person said, I sat like this. Yep, I got it, 100%. Easy. I learned Torah easily and it just came to me. Impossible. Right? The only way a person can succeed in the words of Torah is, Yagati, I struggled. I tried to focus. I sat down in front of the book. I reviewed it. Umatzati, and I found it. The Gemara says, Ava b'masa umatam, when it comes to business, siyata d'shmaya, min shmaya. Help only comes from heaven. You could have a person who works and works and works their finger to the bone, and their business folds. And you can have a person who, dumb luck, he thought he was buying one thing, he bought the wrong thing by mistake. And then the next day, there's no more of that thing that he bought by mistake, and now he's sitting on a gold mine. Guy invested in Bitcoin, Yahoo. Didn't do a day of work in his one day of work in his life, and now he's a billionaire. Why? Because when it was just a concept, he invested all of his money in it. Was it the right thing to do? No, it was a stupid thing to do. Right? But still, the guy succeeded. So you see that there's a possibility of lo yagati matzati, I did not work and I found, and a mitziut, a reality of yagati, velo matzati, lo yagati matzati. I didn't work and I found, and I worked and I didn't find. Gemara says, Hani bili b'Torah, it's only by Torah. Now the Gemara brings a further element, one last piece. The Gemara says as follows, Divrei Torah lo amaran, and when we talked about Divrei Torah, where we said Yagati matzati always is true, Lo Yagati matzati is not true. Yagati v'lo matzati is not true. When is that? Hani mili, that's only Divrei Torah lo amaran ela lechadude, with regards to sharpening. Chadud means to be sharp, to understand, to plumb the profound depths of a sugya, of a halacha, of hashkafa. Aval ukme girsa, but if you're talking about remembering something, siyata min shemayahu, that refers to the help that comes with the help of heaven. What are we talking about? So the Gemara is saying that if a person, let's say you have a person who toils in the Beit Midrash all day long, then you have a guy who has got a photographic memory. So does this line apply to him? I didn't work and I found. You might be able to remember what you saw, but you won't understand what you saw unless you put in that work. But once you've put in that work, yagati, umatzati, now there's no assurance that you're going to remember it, even if you put in the work. Because a good memory is a gift from God. You have some people who have the ability to recall and retain information. Unbelievable. I want you to take a look at Rashi for 1 second. Rashi says something that's beautiful. See that? Siyata Dishmaya, second to the top line in Rashi. When it comes to remembering, shelo tishtakach mimenu, that he shouldn't forget it, Siyata Dishmaya, that comes from help of heaven. V'yesh yaga ve'eno motzeh. There are people who try very hard to remember everything that they learn, and they don't have that grasp, that memory that other people have. You know, many great tzaddikim, they were able to take something called the pin test. What does that mean? They would take any masechet of Shas, take a pin, push it from the front of the masechet through the book all the way, and they will be able to tell you which letter the pin pierced on every page of the book. Chamuvadia took the pin test.
Wow.
Okay? If I study my whole life, I don't know that I'll be able to do that.
That's 2 pages.
Right? Could you imagine that?
All pages.
So on a certain level, there's an element of Yigi'ah here. And that Yigi'ah, without that Yigi'ah, Chamuvadia also would not have done it, been able to do it unless he spent the time and the effort. But he was also aided by a spectacularly photographic memory, you know? Now, does that mean that he was able to learn without studying? Chamuvadia would study 19 hours a day more, right? So it's important to understand the Gemara is telling you that at the very least, to acquire Torah is something which is completely dependent on Yigi'ah. Reb Chaim used to ask an amazing question. He said, I don't understand what that means. The Gemara is telling you that at least in the words of Torah, if you study, if you work hard, you'll get it. If you don't work hard, you're not going to get it. So he says it's very strange because the word Yagati means that you tried, right? Matzati means, what does it mean? Found. What is the flip side of the word Yagati? If I worked hard, I wouldn't say I find something. Do you go out in the morning and try very hard to find lost objects? Right? That's not something you could invest difficult work into. Right? And if you did, you wouldn't call it found. That's succeed. So Rav Chaim said something unbelievable. He said, the reason for why this statement is true is because Torah is an anomaly. We are physical beings with physical understandings based in a physical world. In truth, there should not be one Torah concept that we can understand. It should all be Chinese to us. We should not understand any of it. But when a person works and they toil, it's not that then they got it. It's that at that point, God gives it to them like a mitziah, like a present. Understand? So therefore, the price of the present is Yigi'ah. But your Yigi'ah did not actually get it for you. Okay? Let's move on. There's a beautiful story about this I remember growing up with. Yeah.
What is Rashi trying to tell us by saying, yeah, some people try, but they don't?
Oh, so that's exactly what I was pointing out. Well, let's just give me 1 second. So I remember a story from my childhood. I think it was my grandpa who told it to me about this priest lived in a city, very friendly with the rabbi there. He comes to the rabbi and says, I know you guys always study Talmud. Everyone says it's so amazing. I'd like to study Talmud. The rabbi's like, I can't teach you Talmud. You're not Jewish. You're a priest. He says, no, try. He's like, you're not going to get it. He goes, try me. He goes, okay, look, I'll ask you a question. If you can get the answer, I'll teach you the Talmud. He says, okay, I got it. He says, listen, sir, father, there's 2 thieves. They come down a chimney to rob a house. Okay? One of them's dirty, one of them's clean. Which one washes his hands? The priest says, what do you mean? The dirty guy, obviously. The rabbi says, you see, this is why I can't teach you Talmud. He says, what do you mean? He says, obviously, the dirty guy looks at the clean guy and assumes, he doesn't see his own face. He looks at the clean guy, he thinks he's clean. The clean guy looks at the dirty guy and he assumes that he's dirty. So the clean guy washes. The priest says, wow, that's Talmud. Amazing, I love it. He goes, I'm sorry, it's not for you. He goes, give me another chance. He goes, okay, I'll ask you another question. He goes, 2 thieves climb down a chimney. One of them's clean, one of them's dirty. Who washes their hands? The guy's like, oh, I know this one. I know, so we have to start it again. Someone just post on the...
You got it?
I just started the same meeting. Someone needs to post that we're in here. Okay, yeah, they came in? No, not yet. Just post the link that we started the meeting again.
Just swipe on it, reply on it.
All right? I just don't know when they
I think you.
Masechet Megillah, Zoom connection cut. Maybe I might need to invite them. Is it maybe a different link?
Should I just start a new one?
Oh no, here they
Post
joined.
it.
They joined.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
The sound is on.
The sound.
Because when I started it the first time, I forgot to click.
Join audio.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. So anyway, the priest says, "Give me another chance." The guy says, "Okay, I'll give you one more chance. You answer this correctly." He says, two thieves come down the chimney. One's clean and one's dirty. Which one washes his hands?" The priest's like, "Oh, I know this one." He goes, "The clean guy," because the clean guy looks at the dirty guy and he assumes that his face is dirty. The dirty guy. The rabbi says, "See, this is why I can't teach you Talmud." He goes, "Obviously, the clean guy looks at the dirty guy and he sees his face. So he thinks that he also must be dirty, but then he looks down at his hands and he sees that he's clean. The dirty guy looks at the other guy. The dirty guy looks at the other guy. Can you hear now? Dirty guy looks at the other guy and he thinks that he's clean, but then he looks down at his hands and he sees that he's dirty, so he washes his hands. So it's the dirty guy. Anyway, the priest is like, "Wow, that's genius." He goes, "This is why I can't teach you Talmud." He goes, "Please just give me one more chance." Okay, one last chance. Two thieves climb down a chimney. One's clean and one's dirty. Who washes his hands? The guy's like, the dirty one because of his hands, the clean one because he looks at the other guy. He says, Rabbi says, "You see, this is why I can't teach you." He goes, the dirty guy washes, the clean guy washes. He goes, "How likely is it that two thieves climb down a chimney and only one of them gets dirty?"
That's where I went the first time.
Now, my friends, the joke of it is cute, but there's an element there that says that in the world of svara, you think this way, and then the Gemara is like, no, like that. Also, you're like, "Oh my gosh, obviously that," and then you think the second way, and the Gemara is like, obviously that. But when the Gemara surprises you like that, you're experiencing every time a person has that moment where the Gemara cuts right and the Gemara goes left, and you understand it. You're effectively finding something new, a new road, a new mahalach that your brain did not compute. However smart you are. And that comes from Yigiyah, from working hard. Okay,
This is matzati.
That's matzati. You feel afterwards, I can't believe it. It's not something you earned. It's something you just fell upon through the process of working hard. Hashem gives it to you as a gift, which teaches us that there's no such thing as a person. People say, "I can't study Gemara, Rabbi, I don't have the head for it." I open up this Gemara and I say, "Liar." You don't understand Gemara? You can't focus because you have ADHD? Liar. It doesn't say, don't believe him unless he says I have ADHD. And then you could believe him. It says, Al ta'amen. Now, anything else, not the case. But when it comes to Torah, there's no person who cannot study Torah.
Point.
Even without assistance from Kadosh Baruch Hu?
No, it's with assistance.
When
you get it, it's mitzvah. But
so after you try, you automatically get
Siyata Dishmaya, yes.
Gotcha.
Now, so what do I want to point out from Rashi? Look at Rashi. Rashi says, Siyata Dishmaya, when it comes to remembering, right? That's Siyata Dishmaya. Even if you try hard, you might still forget it. But at least you'll understand it the first time. Gemara says, Yesh Yaga, when it comes to remembering, Yesh Yaga ve'ena motzeh. There is a possibility of a person who can try hard and not remember. So the Sfarim say, the notes point out that Rashi chose only one of them. What's the other one? Yagati matzati or lo yagati, right? Lo matzati. So he says you could find a case of yaga, you worked hard and you did not find. What would be the flip version where you did not work and you found? Rashi doesn't entertain that because even in remembering, there's no possibility of remembering without Yigiyah. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
You see, there's no possibility because it's still
No,
an
it doesn't
it's still an
make
element of Torah. That's the point. And if you're not working, and by the way, how do I prove this? The Gemara says many times, Rabbi Yirmiyah haya noten bahem simanim. All right, the Gemara says, Abaya and Rava, they are machloket, right? And how many machlokot do they have where they argue and we rule like this, we rule like that? Ya'al kigam. Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel, we rule like one and not like the other. In this, the Gemara gives a siman. Why is the Gemara giving a siman? Or v'simanecha, the Gemara will say, and how do you remember this? You remember this pasuk. The Gemara is giving memory devices, illustrating that there needs to be part of the work of studying is the work of reviewing.
References.
So, Jonah, here's our task. Ready? At some point, I want to institute a cycle of reviewing because if we worked hard to get it, and even if we have the most amazing minds, Rashi is telling us that even in remembering, no siyata d'shmaya without trying. So what I'd like to do is you and I will sit down and we'll figure out with your notes that are so beautiful how to be able to do a review cycle independent of what we're learning so that we can retain it. Because if we've not tried, it's going to be up to Shamayim if we'll be able to remember. But if we've not tried, there's no chance that we'll remember as we're learning here from Rashi. That's enough for now. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.